Welcome back on the show, and it's Mary Poppins on one end, and I am Captain Fontrap.
Captain Fontrap.
Fontrap.
Okay.
You remember the sound of music? Mm-hmm. Do, a deer, a female deer, ray, a drop of golden sun.
You.
Me, a name I call myself, far a longer way to run. The sound of music. So Captain Fontrap, he was. I think he was in, was it Poland or Switzerland, and then the German.
You have many sides.
War and everything. Pardon me.
You have many sides.
I have many sides.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You want to see me rap?
No.
You want me to give you?
No.
Give me a beat. Give me a beat. Oh, that's a talent. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do right now. Because if I start it, I just might beatbox.
Yeah.
You know what beatboxing is?
Yeah. Using your mouth too. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Anyway, welcome aboard the news review.
Yeah.
And let me just let you know that this segment, not the fooling, this segment is always sponsored by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. As always, they're offering you prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. All you have to do, reach out to them at any of their branches here in Accra, Spintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi Kronoma Abuehia behind the Angel Educational Complex, Takrady Anaji State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Isiaman Zama. Their call lines 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Shall we do this together? Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic.
The end to chronic disease.
Okay. So time now for us to bring in our guest for the morning. Wisdom Dogbe is our guest. He's a financial analyst. Wisdom, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. I think I got a memo to be in white. Both of you are in white, so I got that memo.
Well, welcome aboard. Good you got the memo.
Yeah.
I know you've been through a rough patch in recent, just about a week. So it's really good to see you, at least hale and hearty and joining the conversation.
Good to be back. Thank you.
All right. So quickly, we'll give you your usual spot, share your thoughts on any pertinent matter. And right after that, Sweetie Abachi will take us into the newspapers.
Perfect. Ben, I think that what we are learning, I want to talk about the SML deal a little bit. What we are learning from the KPMG audit of SML, right? It quite confirms what Ghanaians already knew for some time now through the excellent reporting by the Fourth Estate that this contract was not necessarily entered into in good faith and that it is not necessarily value for money. Maybe it makes sense to terminate the entire contract at this stage. The report of what we're hearing confirms our concerns, about how sometimes no proper due diligence is conducted in awarding such contracts. I'm totally baffled as to how the finance ministry and GRA, this is a sector with folks who have some significant and respectable years of experience. And yet, I don't know how they got it wrong as far as awarding this contract. I think it's a good thing that KPMG recommended that the upstream petroleum audit and the mining sector audit services by SML be canceled. But this is close to about $100 million savings for the nation. That is a huge amount that we can invest into solving the various challenges that the average Ghanaian faces. We have the students of this country, the future leaders. Some of these students are not getting welfare. If I recall from the Joy News documentary on the school feeding program. Some of these students don't have classrooms to study in. And I can almost assure you that you don't even need $100 million to build a decent classroom for some of our basic schools. Now, I think that the best way to start to cure what is seemingly becoming a wrong that the finance ministry and the GRA did by awarding this auspicious contract to SML, I think the best thing to do, in my opinion, would be to release the full report to Ghanaians without further delay. As I mentioned the other time on your show, this is a matter of national significance. The people deserve to know how the resources of the nation are being managed. A good section of Ghanaians believes that this was a shady deal, And if the government is serious and wants to make a convincing statement about fighting corruption,
Right.
they have to first be transparent.
Okay.
There is no better way, right, to show transparency in this matter, than releasing the full report to the general public, even if the president is not obligated to do so. I think it will play well into the narrative of the presidency, as a government committed to fighting corruption. Should a full KPMG report be made available to the public immediately,
Right.
I think it will promote transparency. Then I also think that the government has a unique opportunity, to show accountability by investigating any loss to the state. I like that the opposition party mentioned last week that if NDC wins power, this contract will be immediately terminated in its entirety. But I tell you this, Ghanaians don't want to wait until the NDC comes to power before someone is held accountable for this. The people of Ghana demand this accountability from their public officials, regardless of who is in power. That's why I am calling on our MPs who are also investigating this,
Right.
not to take their feet off the gas, in getting to the bottom of this SML deal. In fact, I had the opportunity to chat with the ranking member of the Finance Committee in Parliament, Honorable Isaac Adongo, and I commended him on Parliament's effort to get to the bottom of this SML deal. But it should be a bipartisan effort. Properly investigating these things should not be a political matter. The nation needs better closure on this, Ben.
All right. Better closure needed. Let's quickly get into the papers now, find out what they have to say.
Let's start with the Daily Graphic newspaper. On the front page, it says limited voter registration exercise starts today. Excise targets 623,000 persons. And the story, we'll get into the story later. There's also another story here that government advances processes for divesting public lands. Professor Dodu launches 2 books on healthy living. Let's quickly get into the story about the limited voter registration because that's happening today. The limited voter registration exercise started across the country with a target to register 623,000 eligible persons onto the electoral register. The 21-day exercise, which is meant for persons who've just turned 18 and others who've not previously registered to vote, is expected to be carried out in 1,053 registration centers made up of 268 district offices of the Electoral Commission and 785 additional centers in hard-to-reach areas agreed on with political parties. This is expected to end on Monday, May 27th this year. Benjamin, when you look at, the slide that 2020 elections brought the president to power and the expected number of people who are supposed to register and the number of young people that just turned 18. So I watched the first episode. It gives me hope that perhaps they are not going to vote like what we've been doing. They're not corruptible. They'll not vote for whoever gives them money, but they will vote with intention, looking at how the country is going, what they're looking for, and then make the change that we are looking forward to. But that's that about the voter registration starting today.
On that question, I also watched Just Turned 18. In fact, I was in the studio, Shola, Emmanuel Juvenu, and others, making it happen. But I just watched the video, right, on Facebook where a woman, and I will not mention the name of the party, the woman was interviewed recently, not on this platform, and she was saying that, listen, even if they bring a stone, a ball, and it is for that party I like, I will vote for that stone. People like her are part of our problem. No offense, no insult, but if you would vote for a stone over someone who would probably change your life for the better, then it points to where some of us are in terms of, and there are many people like that.
Future leaders will change the narrative.
Some people will tell you, oh, yeah, the party way they come from. Yeah, we meto party way, party X, party Y, party Z. It means you're not thinking.
Or
you're
you
not
live
thinking
in this
for yourself.
country.
You are merely, you are a robot. You are an automaton. You are an android. You are just following through with orders. No thinking processes. I don't know.
What are your thoughts on this limited voter registration exercise starting today?
So thank you so much for this one. I'll take a different approach to this. I think that the voter registration is important exercise, right, to ensure voter inclusion and also accuracy of the voter roll across the country. It is the job of the EC to ensure that all eligible Ghanaians have the opportunity to register and be included in the voter roll, including those who have turned 18 and those who, for some reason, couldn't register the last time. And I'm hoping that this exercise will be done fairly and also in a very transparent manner. I was watching your news earlier on, Sudi, and you mentioned that there are reports of some folks illegally busing, non-Ghanaians to register in the North, right? I think that is quite unfortunate, but I think that over time, there are changes in the population, such as new voters reaching the voting age, or citizens who have moved from different parts of the country, right? And that is why we need these voter registration exercises, to help capture these changes and also ensure that there is an accurate and up-to-date voter list. And when it comes to addressing voter alienation, I think that some Ghanaians have previously been unable to register due to various reasons, including what happened to the people of Likpe, I think Lulubi, and other towns in the area. I think they call them the Sol area. So this voter registration exercises provide that opportunity, to reach out to these marginalized groups and ensure that their inclusion in the electoral process is ensured, right? Also, for the sake of enhancing electoral integrity, I think that we should use this new registration exercise or subsequent ones before the election to address concerns about the integrity of the voter roll, such as duplicate registrations. I think that by validating the identities and also the eligibility of voters through a robust registration process, I think the Electoral Commission can enhance the credibility, and the integrity of the electoral system. And they also need to use this to build trust and confidence among the Ghanaian voters.
Right. Thank you for that. On page 13 of the Daily Graphic newspaper, there's a story about government advancing processes for divesting public lands. And it reads, a review committee on the return of vested lands has recommended that majority of the lands should be given back to the pre-acquisition owners. The committee also identified some lands that had special state interest and called for special dispensation from landowners in the management of such properties. So the report of the committee, which was presented to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Abu Jinapor, yesterday, indicated that some chiefs had agreed that the state would pay a token for the continuous use of those lands. Additionally, the report asked for the setting up of a committee that is comprised of the Lands Commission, the landowners, and land users to jointly manage a few of the lands whose nature of acquisition and use were quite complex. Benjamin Akako, before I go to Dr. Wisdom Dogbe.
These land matters,
are they divesting, or are they just claiming ownership and selling the lands to private investors?
And that's part of the point. Our land systems in Ghana and how we've gone about it. The case of the military officer who got shot recently was on the back of a land issue where someone pumped how many bullets into him? 7, 8 bullets into him. So it's really problematic. The talk shop about land is a lot. Hopefully this helps in part of managing state lands. But I also want to make mention of this. There are lots of, you could say, pieces or parcels of land that look at our parks and gardens, for example, and what Nkrumah meant to do with them. And parks and gardens meant to manage the authority meant to manage those spaces across our cities. All of them, practically all of them, even in the Greater Accra region, are gone. Some have been taken over, others, sold out and all that. Yeah. So when we start talking about these issues, sometimes you start thinking, okay, is it just the talk we like? But of course, we also wish him well on this drive, hoping that it culminates in something positive for land administration and
right.
all that.
Dr. Dogbe, some quick thoughts on this?
Yeah, to Ben's point, I really hope that they do this in a very transparent way, right? I missed this one on the news, so I don't have a lot to say on this. But what I can say is that Ghanaians are watching. We don't want a repeat of what happened a couple of years ago when we heard that some government officials acquired some of this land and willed this land to their families forever.
Okay. So I'll do some quick headlines, and if there's something that interests you, we should get into, we do that, and then we move on to the last paper I have, and then Ben takes over. Take advantage of AI to improve output. Mauko Afajinu urges PR practitioners. Ghana, EU to deepen trade ties. India calls for currency interchangeability with Ghana. Reverend Tete calls for peaceful election in December. In the political landscape, be professional in election conduct. That's a clergyman urging the EC and other stakeholders to do that. And Akachi North MP supports some 47 tertiary students with some, educational items. So those are some quick headlines in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Pick one for yourself, and then we'll get into that. I have the Economic Times. I'll do quick headlines, and then if we want to get into any of the stories, we do that. On the front page, cedi depreciation worsens. LPG price made up of 22% taxes as NPA vows to ease traders' concern. Taxation is driving away investors, FABAC General Secretary has said. Bank of Ghana Governor urges First Bank Ghana to access green financing in support of lending activities. On cedi stability, confidence low as depreciation surges over 13%. Good corporate governance aside, recapitalization needed to revamp NIB. That's a consultant saying that. In Ghana's electricity sustainability and political interference. That's an editorial. Any of these stories piques your interest, or should we move on to Benjamin's papers? Dr. Dogbe.
Yeah, Sudi, for some time now, we've been hearing about the city losing value.
Yeah.
So, yes, my 2 cents of what I think would be a good buffer, to the city in a particular case in Ghana. I think that the main threat to having a strong city is our current macroeconomic stability issues, right? We need to study the ship when it comes to economic stability, which is crucial to mitigate the devaluation of the city. And I'm talking about implementing sound monetary and also fiscal policies that aim to control inflation, maintain a stable exchange rate, and also promote sustainable economic growth. I hope the buffer that the governor of Bank of Ghana was talking about a couple of weeks ago, that was on the news, I hope that includes appropriate, monetary tools to better manage inflation, such as adjusting rates and also managing money supply.
Right.
Unfortunately, because of our debt crisis and our company economic mess that we are in, we are not yet in a strong position, in my opinion, to significantly accumulate adequate level of foreign exchange reserves, which can act as a buffer against the devaluation of the city. I believe that a good foreign exchange reserve can provide that the nation with the ability, to intervene in foreign exchange markets, stabilize the currency, and continue working towards meeting external obligations.
Right.
And sweetie, the big thing here is we have to do more to control inflation, right? Mm-hmm. It is declining, I get that, but more work has to be done because higher inflation erodes the value of the city, and it can lead to that devaluation that we're seeing. And I think that if we implement effective monetary policies, such as inflation targeting, that can help control inflation pressures. And this can also involve setting clear inflation targets and also using monetary tools, such as interest rate adjustments and also reserve requirements to manage inflation expectations and maintain stability. Now,
Right.
another big one that we need to pay attention to is fiscal discipline, right? I think that maintaining fiscal discipline is key to building that strong buffer, to support the city. Even in an election year like this, we know government spending is usually off the roof, right? Mm-hmm. Though they say they won't spend too much, we know what happens. We need to work towards balancing the budget and also reducing fiscal deficits. I think that a strong fiscal position helps to instill confidence in the city, which can be a buffer against further devaluation of the city. Okay. We need to promote growth by export, right? And work towards financial sector stability and also enhance investor confidence. All of this can help mitigate, the risk of devaluation of the city by building a stronger buffer.
All right, thank you for that. I always find it's quite unrealistic when I see reports of decreasing inflation because it never really reflects the pockets of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Well,
Benjamin,
the metrics may point to it, but like the vice president himself said some time back, when you talk about these metrics and people don't feel them in their pockets, then it becomes problematic. Yeah. Economics is not economics if it's just left to the textbooks. It's the practicality of economics that makes it, worth anything. Else, it is mere study for study's sake, which is nonsense, so to speak. But the New Finder newspaper, it regurgitates part of what you said. Minister receives report on divesting of state lands. Voter registration starts today. Go out there. If you just turned 18, go out there, get registered. Your vote could determine your future, so don't take it for granted. I don't care whom you're voting for, but exercise the franchise. Exercise your right. It's a constitutional right. So get registered and vote. And as you do so, listen to critical details about what is going on in our country. It's one of those tricky times for many teens. I listened some time back to some students of the University of Ghana, and I was so impressed. How many months ago? They were reacting to developments in the country and all of that, and the eloquence and the thinking, not too many, and I don't say this to denigrate anybody, but when you hit 18 or you're on the cusp of it, at least you should have hit 18 for a period before you can register. Sometimes they are not fully vested with what is, or are fully abreast of what is happening in the country. Right. Sometimes it's a bit convoluted. Get yourself properly educated about what the status of our country is and vote based on that. Because if not, then you're also exercising the franchise, yes, but you are probably exercising it. There's no wrongly in there, but you're going to throw your vote to someone.
Vote with intention.
Yeah, vote with
intention. Yeah.
Information Minister designate tours media houses. I'll take a brief look at that. And GIPC lists $3.8 billion projects from 62 Ghanaian companies registered in 2023. New Finder newspaper, check your spelling of registered. And moves to address exit of foreign companies. So I'll do those two stories, pages 2 and 8. So the Ghana Investment Promotion Center is concerned about the departure of foreign companies from the country and has initiated engagements to address the underlying factors. Despite this negative trend, there is positive news as 62 wholly owned Ghanaian companies with a total investment volume of approximately $3.8 billion registered with the center in 2023. This contrasts with 122 in international businesses registering within the same period with investment volumes totaling $649.58 million. If I were the GIPC, I wouldn't get so excited. This is good. At least you have a bit of a buffer. But the question is, and it's a question I have posed here and I'm going to continue to pose, and likely I'll be talking about on Friday, part of my blunt thoughts. Why are all of these companies upping and leaving? I have my theories. I've done some investigations. I've also listened to the likes of Professor Kobi Mensah, among others. Things are not well. When companies start leaving en masse like they are, and I don't want to mention names, I'll leave that for when the research is done, there are problems. Read between the lines. There are problems. So while this is good and there is a buffer, so to speak, what are we doing wrongly that is, impacting these businesses? Not all of them. Some of them may leave for specific purposes. Some of them may even be profitable, but they may be looking at futuristic data. They may be looking at other developments that do not necessarily fit what they seek to achieve. So you may say, oh, they are profitable. I've seen some data on some institutions like that. Technically, they are profitable, but in the long term, this is not what they are looking for. So we must analyze all of that because as they go, it's also capital flight in a way. There's also one injured multiple vehicles destroyed by rainstorm. I beg your pardon. And I'm sure you followed yesterday at the Ghana Airport Company Limited. I was there. It wasn't a joke. These pictures are from there. And also the switchback road where a tree fell on a motorbike and, a military Land Cruiser. I mean, it was just a bad day. And it wasn't only those places. In other places too.
In fact, I was at a hospital facility in Nungwa when the winds came yesterday. And there was a small car, much like mine, parked on the side, on the curb.
Why did you have to reference your...
Because I want you to get a picturesque idea of the size of the car. The wind just moved it from the curb onto where some market women were standing. And
wow.
It was such a... so it was serious. And
back then...
I saw that. I thought, okay, it was that bad.
It was bad. I mean, it uprooted, it felled trees, and this is just by the by. But I hear back then when Akolawokohe, Tico, it was so light, if another car passed by, it's good. So people were packing blocks.
What?
At the rear, the boot, to give it some
weight.
stability. Anyway, nobody has ever enticed me with money to rule on his or her favor or in his or her favor. Find a newspaper, you should be saying Asante Hines says so. And Information Minister designate towards media houses. The Ministry of Information has paid a courtesy call. I don't know whether they didn't mean minister, but it's a team. So the Ministry of Information has paid a courtesy call on some media houses as part of stakeholder engagements in the media sector. So the minister designate and her team, that is Fatima to Abubakar, visited the EIB group, which owns GH1 Star FM and Kasapa FM as its flagship brands. The team also visited Kesben Media and Wuntumi Radio and Television. Any thoughts on these matters before I quickly wrap with the Daily Guide?
Yeah, Ben, I heard about this new episode of companies going out of business entirely in Ghana or relocating their production apparatus to other countries because of high lending rates and also the current general economic challenges that we are in, which is driving up the cost of doing business in Ghana. A few weeks ago, there were talks of Unilever moving its tea production to Nigeria. I thought that Nigeria was also in a challenging economic downturn, but for any company to move production there from Ghana, I think it should be alarming to all of us that our situation is quite dire. Already unemployment is a huge challenge in the country, and this phenomenon is making it worse. So here's what I think we should be focusing on as a nation. Number one, can we consider stopping this new approach of introducing new and, quite frankly, unnecessary taxes? Government can still meet its revenue targets by, expanding the tax base without introducing new taxes or increase or promote productivity, in the country. And you wouldn't need to introduce new taxes to meet revenue mobilization goals. I think that an equitable and fair taxation policy is a very critical element to encourage these multinational companies to remain in the country. We are in an economic downturn, and we are working slowly towards recovery. So how do we encourage productivity across all sectors? An approach is to provide that tax incentives, right, and subsidies, for local companies who want to expand their production within the country in this period of economic downturn. Also, implement Bank of Ghana policies to make access to credit less expensive. That is, you need to continue to pursue those policies that will drive rates down so businesses can have access to credit in a cost-effective manner. Now, these incentives and initiatives, I believe that they can help to offset the higher cost of production and make it a bit more attractive for these businesses to remain in the country. One other economic policy I believe can encourage companies to keep their production in Ghana, especially during this period, is the implementation of protectionist policies or measures, right? What exactly do I mean by that? And of course, I'm not advocating for absolute import restriction here, but Ghanaians have developed a very good appetite for foreign goods, even if some of these goods are produced in Ghana at the same quality So these protectionist policies, I believe, can help restrict the importation of such goods to protect the local producers who don't have to compete for market share with similar products that are imported into the country.
Right. Just to walk us through these headlines as we get ready to go. Ioko to return OSP's empty DAPA docket. And this bit, the docket is empty. I listened to someone from the Office of the Special Prosecutor on Newsfile on Saturday, and it made for interesting listening, especially having listened to the Attorney General as well. I feel genuinely, we have to get to the point, not just for the politics of it, but let's separate the Attorney General's department or whatever from the Ministry of Justice. We've got to that point where we need it. The Attorney General can be political. The Minister of Justice can represent the people, because I feel where we've got to in some matters, I don't know. But limited voter registration begins today. I am ready to lead. Bawumia says so. Veep proposes tax amnesty. Let me just get to that story on page 3. That's the only thing I'll do. So the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has assured the Ghanaian electorate that he is prepared and ready to lead the country. He has therefore expressed his commitment to engage with the electorate, address their concerns, and present a compelling vision for the future of the country. But yesterday, I had an interaction with Nanaya Ajantua of the CPP, or formerly, and she said this: if he's not a strong Veep, he can't be a leader for us. How do you reconcile these two? Those will be that's my final bit. And that's to you,
well,
Wisdom.
he himself, okay.
Then I will deflect that back to you. But let me touch a little bit on the Cecilia Abinadapa item. Just a few seconds on that one. I think I can understand the public outcry about this whole case, right? And I kind of also understand why the opposition will want to reopen the investigation to correct what they believe was a mistake in handling the case, to uncover the truth, to also ensure that there is real accountability and restore public trust and restore confidence in the justice system and address any systemic issues. I believe that Ghanaians don't have closure in this matter, or they feel like they are not being told the truth by the authorities who are mandated to investigate this one. So I believe that there will be more to come on this case come December.
All right. And that's it from my end.
I don't think we are going to see the justice that we are all itching for in this case. I mean,
but why can't they just put the report out there? What is being hidden?
This is as far as it gets. It's just talk shop now. Sometimes I get irritated when I hear some of the comments that these people make, politicians make, because the whole venture is political, it's partisan, And the powers that be, they are orchestrating this and making sure that the truth never gets to light and the culpable people never meet justice. And we're just going to keep going in this non-ending cycle of, and he said this and this was missing and there was no report. And so what are the facts? Where did the money come from? Charlie.
Our politics is, there's whipping and all that. Yesterday I was interacting with a member of parliament, and he told me too that, listen, sometimes you even, on conscience, you think, on this matter I should stand here, but you'll be whipped in line. Your party caucus will whip you in line. So, and if you don't follow if you don't toe the party's lines, it will cost you. They will root against you on the ground. You will lose your next primary. So,
those whipping people in line, do they understand that this is the only
that is the role they play? It's a party whip. No. It's a political institution. We set it up.
The party over the country.
And that's where the problem is. We've set up a system where these parties, the juggernauts, it is party. Yes, you may say that they serve the nation in a way, but it is party first, and that's the reality. Anyway, we don't have any special birthdays to celebrate, but if you're celebrating any special anniversary, your birthday, or anything today, we celebrate you. Now you've remembered.
Yes, yesterday was my mom's birthday. Grace Suga, I love you. You've always been a hard girl. Happy birthday to you, and I wish you many, many more years of healthy, successful life. I'll bring you plenty of money when I see you this weekend.
Send me Momo. Famumu no
yes,
hukumi.
yes.
What in America? Famumu no
Yeah.
hukumi.
Medebe hukino.
Anyway, Wisdom, thank you so much for joining the conversation this morning. We're very grateful for your time.
Thank you, always.
All right. Wisdom Dogbe is a financial analyst. Before we go, Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic calling one more time. They're offering prostate screening for free if you're a man, fertility screening for free if you're a woman. Their branches across Sprintex opposite the Shell signboard, Kumasi, Chronomabwe here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There's Takrade Energy State, Tema Community 22, Techiman Hanswa, and Esiama Nzima. If you'd like to call them, the numbers are 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. I am in some trepidation as sports starts because of the humbling of Manchester United by Crystal Palace. And some Arsenal fans in this building have started prompting me about how we're going to lock horns with them. But don't be deceived. The fact that Crystal Palace wallops us doesn't mean we can't whip the Gunners. Anyway, sports up next. Do stay.